Hello and welcome to my next Let's Play, which is Christmas Otome. Fitting for the Christmas times, of course. And I have played in private the other games that Korea has put out, like Halloween Otome, Valentine's Otome, and I very much liked all of them. So why not try to record a playthrough of it? So yeah, let's see how it goes. Since, well, I don't actually... Does this game have stat raising like Valentine's? Well, I don't know, let's just see. Nah, she ended up with the wolf in my playthrough. Yes, no. Yeah, all this is fine. Tutorial, the basics. Christmas Otome is an Otome visual novel with sim elements. The bulk of the gameplay is reading and making choices, which may affect the narrative. The controls can be found below. Enter... Arrow keys. I think I will mostly be playing with a mouse though. Oh, screenshot this also. Oh, and self-voicing. Interesting. I took one last glance at a radiant Mira dancing with her husband before following Osiria to the car. Ah yes, good old Mira. I still can't believe she was actually married. Well, I mean, sure, she was fake married for a while, but now she's actually in love with her husband and giving it a real shot. You sure you're okay with skipping out early? It's your cousin's wedding. The formalities are over. After this, it's just drinking and dancing. Besides, I was there for the original one. Fair enough. Driver, take us to the mansion. Right away, Miss Joseph Sterling. I frowned as I looked at the driver. Where's Varun? Isn't he back from butler training? He is. He's at home. I couldn't help but find that strange. Osira used to take Varun everywhere. After all, despite his title being butler, he was more of a bodyguard than anything else. Still, something told me she didn't actually want to talk about it. So, what do you want to talk about? Can't a girl want to spend time with her best friend? She can, but I know you've been really busy after... Besides, you wouldn't have asked me to leave early if there wasn't something. True, I have been neglecting you recently, haven't I? I'm sorry. Don't worry about it. I know you have a lot on your plate. Besides, it's not like I've got pockets of free time either. That's right, you're working part-time at Joseph's, aren't you? You could have told me you wanted a job, and I would have found something more suited to your skills than waitressing. That's precisely why I didn't tell you. Plus, Emma works there, so it's not like I'm alone or anything like that. Please don't try to get me special treatment. Fine. Still, if anyone gives you a hard time, just tell me, okay? Okay. I felt the car slow to a stop and waited until the driver opened the door to let us out. After the first time I tried letting myself out and offered the driver in the process and offended the driver in the process, I decided it was better to just wait. Although the driver then was Varun, and he was sensitive over the strangest things. Come on, the thing I want to show you is in my room. We were roughly halfway to a room before I noticed a neat red-haired butler following at a discreet distance. Catching my look, Osiria sighed. Just ignore him. Unless you need something, then by all means, ask him for it. He's the perfect personal butler after all. Personal butler? Isn't Varen jealous over this guy stealing his job? That is Varen. I did the double take. Wait, what? Seriously? Yes. I don't believe it. You're playing a prank on me, right? Ask him if you don't believe me. Hey, Varen, can you come over here, will you? The young man crossed the distance at a sedate pace. Is there anything you require, Miss Cosgrove? Even his mannerisms and way of speaking seemed different. Varen? He merely inclined his head, patiently waiting for an order without prompting me to continue. What happened to you? Where's the rest of your hair? And the intense my-ladying? And the over-eagerness? And the following Siri like a puppy? He winced at my words, but recovered quickly. Please forgive my previous inappropriate behavior. That was not in the least bit respectful and will not happen again. Siri? Yes? This is creepy. Error. Indeed. She turned to look at Varen directly for the first time since I noticed him. Please retire for the day. You're making my guest uncomfortable. I will be in my room with Maya and in no danger. If I require your services, I will ring for you. Very well, Miss Joseph Sterling. He gave a half bow before turning and leaving. Once he was out of earshot, I grabbed Siri's arm. Oh my god, they brainwashed him! That was my theory too. Unfortunately, no matter what I say to him, he remains the perfect professional butler. I hissed in displeasure. No wonder she's so upset. She could always rely on Varen to lighten the mood, no matter how bad things got. Now he's one of those stuffy, old-fashioned butlers. I'm sorry. Don't be. It is what it is. At absolute worst, I'm just going to have to get used to the new status quo. There is another option. Even as I brought it up, I knew she wouldn't take it. Oh? Fire him. She glared at me for suggesting it. You know I can't. I'm the one who brought him in, and when I did, I promised not to abandon him. I'm not gonna break that promise just because they managed to change him. I refuse to betray him that way. She let out a sigh, all fight draining out of her. Besides, even if I did, Daddy and the head butler would just find someone even more infuriatingly perfect at being a butler to replace him. You're probably right. Now come, I didn't bring you all the way here to talk about me. She pushed the door to her room open and waited for me to enter before following and shutting the door behind us. I took my usual place on the edge of her bed while she rummaged through one of her drawers looking for something. When she found it, she tossed it next to me. So I thought that would interest you. I picked up the folder and started to flip through it. So, what is... Oh. I cut myself off at the handsome face smiling up at me from a large photo. Yes, oh. I cleared my throat and tried to act nonchalant. Why don't you give me a file on one of our high school teachers? Her face told me that she wasn't buying it. He isn't just one of our high school teachers. He's the guy you had a crush on. I couldn't stop the warmth flooding my cheeks. And by the looks of it, still do. No, I don't. I tried to offer a token denial, but Siri knew me too well to fall for it. Okay, so maybe I do still have a tiny crush on him, but it's not like I've even seen him since we finished high school. And that's where I come in. You know how Daddy's one of the school's backers? Well, this is sorry that the school is throwing Friday night to convince its backers to donate more, and all the teachers will be there. And you know how Daddy doesn't actually like attending these things. I'm not sure, like, where this is going. He's sending me in his place, and I was thinking you could be my +1. You want me to attend a party with all my high school teachers? No thanks. Please, if you come then I won't have to take Varun. When he was embarrassingly effusive, you had no problem taking him to public outings, but now that he's impeccable, it's a problem. The more time I spend with him like this, the more annoyed I get. At least with you there I'll have someone to talk to. You know, our teachers weren't exactly fond of me. Mainly because all the stunts you pulled in class. Hey, you were involved too, and they loved you. Yeah, but I had a whole year before you transferred in to prove that I was an absolute angel. Teacher's pet. You know it. So, you'll come? Sure, what the hell. It's not like I have anything better to do. Thank you, you won't regret it. In fact, you may just nag the man you've been mooning over for years if I have anything to say about it. Oh boy. Please don't do anything crazy. Actually, don't do anything, period. Spot. Can I at least help you get ready before the party? Okay, just nothing out of there or revealing. Hey, it's me, not Mira. I'll have you decked out in something classy and understatedly sexy. I am already regretting it. Siri sweated at me absent-mindedly as she continued making plans for my attire for the party on Friday. It had been a while since I'd seen her so upbeat. If letting her help get me a love life was what she needed, then so be it. My eyes wandered a bit and landed on a bracelet sitting on her dresser. It's not like you to leave things out. She followed my gaze before making an annoyed sound. I keep forgetting to tell Farron to throw that out. What? Why? That's beautiful. It's also from my father's golden boy. I know you don't I know you don't like the guy, but it's such a shame to throw it out. If you like it that much, then you can have it. She practically shoved the thing into my hands. Without thinking too much about it, I put the bracelet on. It really is beautiful. Now, getting back on track. Magical bracelet? Magical bracelet? I blinked awake to find myself in the hospital. What? Oh good, you're finally awake. Siri, what happened? You fainted and hit your head as you were leaving. I told you you were working too hard. I vaguely recalled something like that now that I thought about it. I feel fine. That's probably the painkillers they gave you. They ran some tests and don't think it's anything serious, but they want to keep you overnight for observation. Alright, let me just tell Emma I won't be coming home tonight. Already taken care of. I also told your parents not to worry, because I'll make sure you get the best treatment. Thank you. What's best friends? That's what best friends are for. Speaking of, why didn't you tell me you've been volunteering here? They told you that? Of course they did. I am Osiria Joseph Stealing. Right, well, I'm just working here because it looks good on a resume. She nodded her eyes at me. And that's the only reason? And that's the only reason? I shrugged. What else is there? I might have hit my head, but I wasn't nearly out of it enough to tell her that. Well, that was the original reason, I chose to continue after, so I could watch over her cousin in her stead. It still broke my heart whenever I thought about what happened to him. He was just a child, and now, thanks to a botched kidnapping attempt, he was in a coma he might never wake up from. Most people probably wouldn't be able to see it, but it had hit Siri hard. She was dealing with it the only way she knew how, by throwing herself into her work. I just wanted to lighten her burden a little. I was caught off guard by Siri's arms pulling me into an embrace. I brought my arms up to hug her back. Hey, what's this for? Because I felt like it, or maybe I'm trying to see if I can get a reaction out of Varun? My eyes flicked to see where Varun was standing by the door, as impassive as ever. I hadn't even noticed him until that point. Go hug a man then. Hugging me won't have any effect. In fact, go hug the guy who gave you this bracelet. Osirian let out a peal of laughter at that. Yeah, no, you're a much better hugging companion. Varun did seem to move then, but before I could register too much, I was hit by a sudden wave of dizziness. Are you okay? Sorry, just a little dizzy. Osiria looked concerned. Should I get the doctor? No, a little dizziness isn't that uncommon after a head injury. I probably just need some rest. If you're sure. Siri left not long after, making me promise to get some sleep and take better care of myself. I let out a sigh as I made my way down to the vending machines. Bed rest was boring, but I couldn't seem to get to sleep. The one good thing about this whole situation was that my condition wasn't bad enough to have me confined to my hospital room. What? The closer I got, the weirder I felt. It felt like the colors were off? Maybe that hit to the head was more serious than I thought. Okay, I get something, then sit down until I'm feeling better. Then I'll go back. I took a step forward and was assaulted by a wave of dizziness. And then pain. I gripped my head in agony. I tried to focus through it. At the very least, I wanted to find a chair. I couldn't risk hitting my head again. I moved towards the nearest wall so I could use it for support. Just a few more steps to the nearest chair. There was a sudden movement in my field of vision. Something was turning towards me. I stifled a yawn as I observed a nearly empty restaurant. I might have gone back to work too quickly after being discharged, but the doctor said everything seemed fine. But what happened? Plus, I didn't enjoy sitting around doing nothing. I had to admit I was grateful that Joseph's didn't get much day traffic thanks to being more of a date spot than a cafe. I perked up as a few young people entered the restaurant and took a seat at one of my tables. Time to get to work. I grabbed a few menus and headed over. Welcome to Joseph's, I'm Maya, and I'll be your server for today. Would you like to hear the specials? One of the guys shot me a flirty smile. Oh boy. From you, I'd like to hear anything. One of the girls shoved him playfully. Ignore Mick, he flirts with everything. Hey, she's cute, and you just cut my legs from under me like that. She rolled her eyes at him, completely unmoved by his pout. I'm your best friend, not your wingman. Besides, you're holding us up. We're starving and you promised us food, remember? We were starving too until you got distracted. Right on cue, his stomach growled. Damn, that's embarrassing. Well, have... I took their orders and relayed them to the kitchen. Every time I went over to the table, Mick tried to flirt with me and his best friend shot him down. I had to admit it was kind of fun having a guy show such balanced interest, even if he was just joking. I tried to imagine my crush doing that, but I couldn't. He just wasn't a flirty kind of guy. He was serious. I liked serious. All too soon, they were ready for the check. Mick looked at it, nodded, and placed some bills into it before handing it to me. I think I'll be coming here more often. The service is incredible. His best friend rolled her eyes and pushed him towards the door. Come on, Casanova. We're gonna be late for the test if you keep flirting. I watched them leave before settling back for the rest of my shift. Just as I finished my shift, the manager called me aside to speak to me. Look, you've been with us for a while and you're good at your job, so I was thinking you'd be perfect to mentor and train a new part-timer. We're getting a new part-timer? Yeah, you remember that Keira. Yes, Keira quit recently, so we're a bit understaffed. He seems like a good kid, so I don't think you'll have any problems with him. He just needs a gentle guiding hand. Okay. Great. He starts tomorrow. Until he's fully trained, he'll be working the same shifts as you. Okay, what's his name? Garnet Connor, or something cute like that. I don't even want to know what he would say my name was if asked. Okay, I'll start training this Garnet Connor tomorrow. Great. I left Joseph's wondering what this new part-timer was going to be like. Ah, this guy. By the time I reached work the next day, I had gone over my manager's words enough times to convince myself that Garnet was probably a shy young man. Nothing looked shy about the uniformed man I saw standing next to my manager. He was intimidating. I hope he's cute underneath it though. Instead of someone that could be led by a gentle touch, he seemed more like the sort of person that would break anyone that tried to tell him what to do. Really? I stilled myself as I walked up to the pair. Ah, there you are. Right on time as always. This is Garnet Connor. It's Garnet Connor, sir. Despite his polite words, the intensity which surrounded him seemed to deepen, and his brows crinkled as he corrected our manager. I tried not to show any discomfort when a word started to spin again. The doctor had said I might experience some residual effects, but they should go away with time. Oh boy. His name sounds as scary as he looks. How on earth does that sound even remotely cute? For me it's hard to... Can names sound cute? I don't know. Yes, that. Garnet. Garrett. This is the senior waitress that will be training and supervising you until you're fully trained. Having said that, my manager returned to the office in the back. Is he always that spacey? Yes, but he's in charge and what he says goes. Understood. Do I get to know your name or do I refer to you as senior waitress? Despite his intense aura, he asked the question so seriously that I couldn't suppress a giggle. Maybe he's just serious by nature? I've always been told not to judge by appearances. Yeah, he seems more like, I don't know, serious normal type. It's Maya Cosgrove. I'm pretty sure he didn't mention it because he doesn't remember it. Oof. He nodded stiffly. Understood, Miss Cosgrove. Well, he does seem respectful, and he definitely is strong enough to handle carrying trays of food around. Well, Garrett, let's get started on your training. The shift went surprisingly well. Garrett followed my instructions without question, and when corrected, he doesn't get offended or grumble. Despite my initial reservations, he was proving to be quite a respectful and obedient subordinate. He didn't have any additional dizzy spells either. We walked out the restaurant together after our shift. You'll be alright getting home? This quiet question after so much silence startled me. Yeah, it's too bright out, and I walk this way all the time. Not to mention, I wasn't about to show some guy I've known less than a day where I stay. He nodded at my words. Stay safe, Miss Congrove. When I arrived at work the next day, Garrett was already there waiting for me. Good day, Miss Cosgrove. If you're always earlier than I am, you're going to make me look bad. I'm sorry, I'll try to come later. What? No, I was joking. Oh. You don't always have to take things so seriously, you know? You'll get old faster that way. Well, we wouldn't want that. He smiled slightly at me, and I had to fight down a blush. He really is quite attractive when he smiles. He glanced at something behind me and his smile faded. Customer just sat at one of your tables. It's Mick. I turned to see a familiar face at one of the tables near the window. Oh, it's that Mick guy, but he's alone this time. I flashed Garrett a smile. Duty calls. I grabbed the menu and headed over to Mick's table. Welcome. Huh? Okay, he feels quite different now. Coffee black, 2 sugars. I tamped down on the anger his abrupt dismissal caused. I mean, sure, I barely knew the guy, but for him to just cut me off like that when he'd been so sweet last time. Just because I was a waitress didn't mean he should ignore what I had to say. For all he knew, I could have been about to say there's no water or sugar, or the coffee machine was broken. Must have been getting too worked up about it, since I could feel a dizzy spell coming on. I took a deep breath and forced myself to be professional and continue taking his order. Would you like anything to eat with your coffee? He seemed to contemplate the question for a while before shaking his head no. Garrett stopped me as I went to walk past him to give the order to the kitchen staff. Is everything okay? Yes, why wouldn't it be? It's just, you looked a bit upset. I felt on a wave of embarrassment as being so transparent about it. Do you want me to roughen him up? In this fancy restaurant? The The sudden question had me laughing out loud before realizing he was being serious. No, that's really not necessary. Mick continued to ignore me as I served him, right up until he left. The rest of the shift was pretty uneventful, but I had to admit it was nice working with Garrett. So does Mick, like, only put on a fake... Does he put on a facade if he's with his best friend? But isn't that kind of weird? The rest of the shift was pretty uneventful, but I had to admit it was nice working with Garrett. I hadn't really interacted all that much with the other staff members at Joseph's before. Well, except Emma, but she was usually in the kitchen while I worked the front, so it didn't count. It was nice to have a friendly face around, even if that face didn't actually look friendly. As I left at the end of my shift on Friday, I was only mildly surprised to see the clearly expensive black car waiting outside the restaurant. I noticed Garrett frown as I walked towards it. "Friend of yours?" He looked clearly on edge. Best friend, actually. He nodded, but still seemed lost in thought when I got into the car next to Siri. "So, who's that?" "He's a new part-timer, Garrett Carver." "Ah, he's not giving you any trouble, is he?" "Nah, he's actually kinda sweet. He offered to beat up a guy for me." "What did the guy do?" "Nothing really, I was just being overly sensitive. Being ignored is not being overly sensitive. You have a right to being upset over being ignored. No one likes being ignored." "You sure?" "I'm sure. You don't need to go and destroy anyone's life." "Good. Now, I was thinking for the party you should wear the..." Oh boy. "There are a lot more people here than I was expecting. The school has a lot of backers, mainly alumni who made it big." "Yeah, but how would you even find someone in all this?" "That eager to see him?" "What? No." Despite my protest, my cheeks were already aflame at the thought. Is he as handsome as I remember? As smart? Even as we made small talk with some of my favorite teachers, I couldn't help but scan the room for a familiar head of blonde hair. When we were alone again, as well as alone as you can be in the middle of a party, I glared at Siri suspiciously. "Are you sure he's here?" "Yes, he... Damn it!" I glanced in the direction she was glaring to see a young, well-dressed man with an aura of danger making his way towards us. "Don, I don't recall you ever attending the school." "I didn't. Mr. Sterling suggested that I might find something worth investing in here. He's not entirely wrong." The predatory look he sent Siri made me uncomfortable. Siri, who's this guy?" "Donovan Calloway, my father's golden boy." "You sure also... I'm pretty sure Siri will also get her own game, won't she?" Already looking forward to Raren, by the way. Whoa, this guy is a rival? I was expecting someone less bold. "You must be Maya. I've heard a lot about you." "She's off limits, Don. This fight is between you and me." Siri looked ready to eviscerate him if he even thought about trying anything. If anything, it just made him smile wider. "I would never want to pull anyone else into a dance. I rather enjoy it, being just the two of us." Siri pursed her lips in displeasure. Don't you have something else to do?
At this precise moment, no. But I know when I'm not wanted. I'll make myself scarce so you can enjoy this evening.
Thank you. He made to leave, but stopped abruptly once he caught sight of my bracelet. Alright, Siri said he's the one who gave her this. Ouch.
You gave it away.
Another easy spell chose that moment to appear. It wasn't that bad, all things considered, but Siri used it as an excuse to get off that awkward situation and leave Don behind. I waited until we were out of his earshot before grabbing Siri's arm. That's the guy your father wants to take over his business? He looks like he would be more at home in a fight than a boardroom. He used to be part of a gang until Daddy took him under his wing, and he transferred all that aggression and ruthlessness into business. Now he's one of the most successful up-and-coming young businessmen. And he has his prodigy, or what does he need with his daughter that's been training to take over ever since she could talk? Oof. The words were practically dripping with bitterness.
I would be very bitter too.
Siri. But tonight isn't about me. It's about you and a certain teacher, who I see standing by himself near the punch, so you should go talk to him. She gave me a little push in his direction. I hesitated for a moment before going. If she didn't want to talk about it, then all pushing would do is make her climb up. As I walked towards him, I couldn't help but notice that he looked even more handsome than I remembered. How could I have forgotten just how good he looks? The closer I got, the more nervous I got. What if he doesn't even remember me? He must have had hundreds of students by now. Or what if he has a girlfriend and just sees me as an annoying kid? With that in mind, instead of speaking to him when I reached the punch bowl, I filled the glass with some punch.
Oh, well, you most likely have one hell of a fight in front of you if you want this guy. I do not have that many male voices. Not that I'm good at making them in the first place. Especially not 3 different serious male voices, god damn it.
Miss Cosgrove, it's been a while. I was so startled at his statement, and remembering my name, that I fumbled with the glass, but thankfully it didn't spill any of the punch. Mr. Angus, it has. In fact, I'm surprised you remember me.
You were part of my very first batch of students. Of course I remember you. You and Osira disrupted my lessons many times.
Well, Osira is remarkably persuasive. She's the reason I'm here tonight.
Still thick as thieves, I see.
She's my best friend. That's not gonna change just because we no longer go to school together.
Speaking of no longer going to school, what are you doing now?
I am finishing up my last year at university.
What are you studying?
Computer science.
Any plans for when you're done?
Osira wants me to work with her, but I'm thinking of applying at a few places and seeing what happens. It's not that I don't want to work with her, it's just... Going easy mode is not exactly the most fulfilling, always. You want to know you got the job on your own merits and not because you know the owner? Exactly. I almost forgotten how much I liked just talking to him. Even if it was only small talk. So, you're on punch duty?
Actually, I'm covering for Miss Sally. She had to take a call, but she's been gone long enough that I'm beginning to think she may have ditched.
Miss Sally wouldn't do that.
No, she wouldn't unless it was something important. Honestly, I'm starting to worry. Even with his brow furrowed in concern, he looks cute. Do you want me to keep you company until she gets back? It's got to be lonely manning the punch bowl by yourself. It's not necessarily. I'm sure you probably want to get back to Osiria. No, she'll kill me if I go back without having actually done anything. Actually, Oh look, there's Messiah. I couldn't help my relief at the distraction Messiah returning brought. Sorry I took so long. Don't worry about it. Miss Cosgrove kept me company. Maya, it's good to see you again. You always were one of my favorite students. Just don't tell anyone I said that. Your secret is safe with me. I made small talk with Messiah for a few minutes before excusing myself. Looks like I missed my chance. I nearly jumped when Siri suddenly laid a hand on my shoulder. So, what happened? Nothing. What do you mean, nothing? You guys were talking for a while. Yeah, but it's not like we were exactly alone. There are just way too many people around to so much as say anything that isn't just small talk. You may have a point. Okay, new plan. Osiria clapped her hands over mine and led me over to where Mr. Anderson was standing. Oh no, I have a bad feeling about this. Miss Joseph Sterling, you seem as energetic as ever. I'll take that as a compliment. The three of us stood in awkward silence for a while before Osiria cleared her throat. Look, Mr. Ennis, I had to do this, but I have a favor to ask of you. His eyes narrowed warily. What sort of favor? I kinda need to go to the office, but the thing is that I'm Maya's ride home. I was hoping you would take her. I'm pretty sure you go past the place on your way home. Smart. Smart. Not bad. Not bad at all. I'm not going to bother asking how or why you know that. Siri, maybe I should just come with you. I wouldn't want to bother anyone. You can't. I'm probably going to be there all night and you have to work in the morning. Oh no, you are probably not helping, dude. The man from earlier, Don, chose that moment to butt into the conversation. No, dude, calm down. Oh, Syria, are they giving you trouble? Don, I thought you said you were going to make yourself scarce. And I did, but you can hardly expect me to stay away when you look distressed. A friend of yours, Miss Joseph Sterling? I apologize for my slight. I'm Donovan Calloway. I work with Osiria's father. I am Andis. I'm a teacher. So, what's going on here? It seems Osiria needs to leave, and she was looking for someone to take Maya home. I could do that. No, you are ruining the plan. No, you can't. I can't? I'm headed to the office and you should too. I watched as understanding dawned on his face. Of course, I'm sorry. You're right. I shouldn't make a side trip when there's an emergency at the office. Don flashed an imploring smile at Mr. Anders. Could you take Maya home? It would be a load off both of our minds, knowing she was with someone we trust. Is this guy her rival or her partner in crime? Perhaps one of the female teachers might be a better choice.
He's sensible. He's very sensible. He knows that it's weird. That he's a weird choice for this. He's sensible. They all either live in the opposite direction or have plans, and I would hate to put them out. Of the male teachers, you are the one she would feel most comfortable with. I nodded dumbly when he looked to me for confirmation. Very well, I'll take her home. Thank you. Thank you. She was already barking orders into her phone for the driver to fetch her as she walked away. Don watched her go before doing the same. Oof, no, this is awkward again. Mr. Anders downed his punch and placed the glass on the table before turning back to me. So, did you want to leave right now, or do you want to stay a little longer? I am fine with anything. I really don't want to put you out. Okay, then let's get out of here. I followed him out of the school building into the car park. The school is really pretty at night. The school looks fancy as hell. But maybe I shouldn't say that. My university looks very similar. Though it isn't fenced. But yeah, my university actually looks pretty similar to this. But the schools were always either small or crappy. He seemed startled at my statement, and turned to look at the school I lit up against the night sky. It is. I ignored the image of him staring at the school with a soft expression in my memory before turning to all the cars parked outside. So, which one is yours? He pointed to one of the cars with his remote and unlocked it. That one. Right. I got into the car and closed the door before putting on a seatbelt. It was only once he closed his door that I realized we were going to be alone together in a small space for an extended period of time. I could feel my heart hammering in my chest. Okay, this is your chance. Don't screw it up. He shot me a strange look. Are you okay? You look a bit pale. I don't know, maybe you could talk about the whole accident thing, that you were hospitalized and shit. Maybe that will get you some concern points. I'm just nervous about being alone with you. Yeah, that's not gonna go down well. I'm fine. Just a little too partied out, I guess. He looked at me a moment longer before turning to face the front and starting the car. You should rest up once you're home. He drove in silence, except for occasional checks to make sure he hadn't missed a turn to get to my place. You're blowing it. Soon he'll drop you off and then drive out of your life forever. I paused for a moment to wonder why the voice in my head was being so dramatic, and had a serious voice before shrugging it off. So, you don't listen to the radio while you drive? He seemed startled at my remark. Not usually. Did you want to? He reluctantly reached out to turn the radio on. No, I mean, we could always just talk. He hesitated with his finger on the button for a moment before placing his hand back on the steering wheel. I suppose we could. Do you remember... Do you remember when you first started teaching my class? Not quite sure where I want to start, but better than nothing, I guess. Though I don't know if it's a good idea to, again, remind him of the fact that you are his student. Even if you aren't anymore. Yes, it was my first actual teaching experience, and it counted for credit towards my graduating. The first day I looked at all of you, I felt like I was finally getting to do what I've been training for. By the end of the week, all of you had me wanting to quit. The classic.
I flinched at the memory. Yeah, I should apologize for that.
You were one of the better behaved ones.
Still, I could have gotten Osteria to get the others to back off sooner.
She did have a scary amount of influence over the other students.
I think part of that was Varen and the rest was because of her father.
Probably.
But yeah, after those first few weeks, things did calm down.
They never quite calmed down, but they were better, yes. I did have to keep an eye out for any of Asiria's shenanigans, like the paint incident. What did they all do? I mean, my class also had its moments, but...
You handled that very well, by the way. The way you acted, no one would have realized you had any issue teaching while covered in purple paint.
Good lord. It was very inconvenient. It made my clothes much heavier and stiffer. Not to mention, I never did manage to get the paint out of that suit.
But it did earn you a lot of respect when other students realized you weren't going to rise to the bait. You earned yourself quite a few admirers that day.
Admirers? Don't be silly. I looked like a clown.
No, seriously, there were plenty of girls that had a crush on you.
I doubt that. Girl, what are you going to do now? Are you going to fess up? Oh no.
I took a deep breath. Here goes nothing. I was one of them. Still am. I waited for him to respond, but he just remained silent, staring ahead. Well, say something.
Exactly what do you expect me to say here?
I was hoping that you would say you maybe kinda like me too, but I'll settle for the truth.
Do you realize how inappropriate this is? You're a student of mine.
Not anymore. I have been one of your students for years.
But you were, and that's how I think of you. For me to harbor any feelings of that nature would be incredibly inappropriate.
I get that, I do. If you have been crushing on me back, then it would have been bad, but now that we're both older, I was hoping you could maybe see me as a young woman and not one of your students. I mean, what's the harm in giving us a shot? Unless you're seeing someone, I mean. You're not seeing anyone, are you?
I'm sorry, but I can only see you as one of my old students. Yeah, this is a very hard nut. A very tough nut to crack.
Then you're not trying hard enough.
Oof.
I pushed aside the little voice in my head that sounded suspiciously like Mira, and tried to focus on not showing just how devastated I felt. The last thing I wanted was to make him feel guilty for not seeing me that way. I turned to stare out the window so he wouldn't see the tears that I was trying so hard not to let fall. I didn't want to ruin his memory of me further by seeing me cry. I still had my pride after all. It took me a while to realize, thanks to my watery vision, but when I did, I felt a knot of anxiousness build into my stomach. We already passed the house I share with Emma. I knew I had to say something, but I could barely get my voice to work. Mr. Anders?
Yes?
His voice was distant. Even when he was at his most angry with the class or at his most professional, he'd never felt this distant. I had to swallow down the lump it caused in my throat before speaking. We missed my turn. I saw a sharp knot out of the corner of my eye, just before he made a new turn. I tried to keep my voice steady as I directed him. When the car stopped outside the house, I still couldn't bring myself to look at him. I was afraid that if I did, I would do something stupid like begging him to reconsider.
Instead, I took a deep breath and stepped out of the car. Thank you for driving me home. I'll wait until you're safely inside. I nodded awkwardly, still not looking at him as I closed the car door, and made my way to the front door of the house. I fumbled around in my purse for my keys. When I finally found them, it still took a couple of tries before I finally got the door open, because my vision was so blurry. I heard his car drive off as I shut the door behind me, and I wanted to just sink into the floor. It all felt so sickeningly final. I forced myself to walk the familiar path to my room. I didn't stop even as I heard Emma's room door open. Hey, you're back. How was the party? It was okay. I tried to keep my voice steady and free of any emotion. I failed. Maya, are you okay? The concern in her voice nearly undid me. I didn't want her worrying about me. It was bad enough that I had worried her when I ended up in the hospital. I'm fine, just a little tired. This time I managed to keep my voice steady. Okay, good night then. I was pretty sure she didn't believe me, but still glad she didn't push. Good night. I slipped into my room and drove straight into my bed, barely pausing to kick off my shoes. I hugged my pillow to me like a lifeline as the sobs started. Ugly, having sobs that I could no longer suppress. I knew it was foolish to think anything could come of a childish crush on my high school teacher, but that didn't make it hurt any less. And this is where we leave off. The part is already long enough. So next time we'll see how Maya is doing and what the hell is going on right now. So yeah, until then, goodbye.